This presentation is being done on Chapter 11.1, Functions of Communication, and Chapter 11.2, Direction of Communication. Functions of communication. There are 5 major functions that communication serves within a group or an organization. The first is management, and this is where the communication acts to manage the behavior of the individuals. For example, communication enables employees to understand what their organization wants from them, as well as help to shape their attitudes and thought processes. The second function that communication serves is feedback. This helps employees know how well they are doing and how they can improve what goals can be set for the future. The third major function is emotional sharing. Communication helps to relay group members' feelings, and it also fulfills our social needs by giving us an opportunity to show satisfaction and or frustration. The fourth is persuasion, which can be used in both positive and negative ways. For example, a group member may be communicating ways to more efficiently reach goals, or could be using persuasion to entice coworkers to cut corners to reach goals more quickly. And then lastly, there is the information exchange. This is where communication provides the information needed to make decisions. Every instance of communication needs a sender with a purpose, something to say, and a receiver. Though to you and I it might seem like a normal conversation, there's actually an 8-step process that's going on behind the scenes. The first step in formulating the thought is formulating the thought in your brain and then encoding that message. An example of that would be writing a message down on a piece of paper, or when we speak, the speech is the message. Next, the message is delivered through a channel, which is the medium through which the message travels. Channels can be either formal or informal. A formal channel is generally established by an organization and is used to transmit professional messages, while informal channels are more relaxed and personal or social. The message is then decoded by the receiver, and this is where they interpret the message that you are attempting to relay. Noise can sometimes be present in the message, meaning that the information might not be as clear, or there might be difficulties trying to understand what the message is. An example of this would be a tone being misread in an email, or language and cultural barriers. And then finally, there's feedback, and this is basically the check for understanding. If the message has not been interpreted correctly by the receiver, the process will start again. I've linked a video down below. It's around 3 minutes, and it's a really good synopsis of the communication process, and is definitely worth 3 minutes of your time if you have a few minutes to spare. Chapter 11.2, Direction of Communication. Communication can flow in many ways. Our book touches on downward, upward, and lateral communication, as well as the formal small group networks and the grapevine. Downward communication is when communication flows from a higher level to a lower level for the purpose of relaying information or explanations. For example, this would be when your manager is explaining to you why a particular decision is made. This type of communication is usually one way. In other words, the manager is usually not asking you for feedback, and it's really only information that they're relaying. If feedback is requested and given, comes upward communication. This is where subordinates are providing feedback or information to those at a higher level. It's important that if there's an opportunity for upward communication, the message is short and succinct, and your time may be limited because if you're speaking to a manager, generally they're probably busy or doing something else, so you might have just a brief opportunity to get that message out. It should be noted that the delivery of your message is important here, because knowing what you're going to say and formulating it properly can go a long way in getting your message heard. Next, we have lateral communication, and this is basically where colleagues or people in the same playing field are sharing communication. Lateral communication can often get things done more quickly than if you were to go through a supervisor. For example, if you're working on a deadline and I needed a graphic complete, I would ask the graphic art specialist directly. It gets things done quicker. You get a quicker result than telling your boss you need that graphic, and then you're running behind. It's important to stay within the appropriate boundaries of these conversations, and dysfunction can result when more formal channels of communication have been circumvented. Next is formal group networks. Formal group networks consist of 3 separate types of communication. First is the chain. The chain follows rigid formal chains of command. An example would be a CEO informing supervisors of pay cuts, and now the pay cuts have to be, that information has to be delivered from the supervisor to the employees. The wheel relies on a certain person or persons to act as the channel for information for the group. This is seen in groups where strong leadership is present, such as unions. And last is the all-channel network. This is where information is shared freely and there is no one channel. All members are equally free to share. And lastly, we have the grapevine. Most of us are familiar with this phrase or have heard it at one point or another in our lives. We've all been subjected to rumors and gossip. But the grapevine isn't necessarily all bad. This is an informal communication from word of mouth and plays an important role in employee satisfaction. This type of small talk can create closeness and friendships between those who you're sharing information with. And it can also have negative effects. There could be people who are feeling left out or information is misunderstood. This type of informal free sharing can be an indicator also to supervisors how morale is going in the workplace, and it can also help identify employee issues. On learning. What is the difference between upward and downward communication? How can the use of persuasion have a negative effect on an employee or a group? And what are some obstacles to encoding a message or information to be sent to the receiver?